Hey, this is Sari Torres here. Today in the Existential Crisis Corner, does your work in progress have different points of view? I have some tips to keep your point of views balanced, nuanced, and intriguing to the reader. You are in the Existential Crisis Corner. Now, if you're going to be having more than one point of view in your book, you must have some difference in their point of view. And this isn't just their physical, where they are right now point of view, or what's happening to them. Think of the reason why you have this change in point of view. You want to see this world or situation that you've built in a different lens. If the lens is no different than the other character, it's going to seem repetitive or pointless to your reader. And I notice just in pop culture, often the more different the points of view are when you're changing points of view, the more interesting the story is. So if you think of a movie like Rashomon, Vantage Point, that one Batman the Animated Series episode where they're in different points of view, I think it's actually called Point of View. The reason why you have these different points of view is so that you see them in different points of view. It's like if you were filming a movie and you had a camera right here and then another camera right here and you switched the views, it would be stupid. But obviously directors will place a camera here and place a camera here and place a camera there.
There's a camera right there.
Look, you're on a prank show. There's a camera behind you.
I'm not looking.
There's a camera over there.
So that you get those different points of view and that the movie looks more interesting because you're seeing it from different perspectives. Now, you can also bog down your reader if you have too many points of view. Unless this is an anthology or unless you're just really flipping good, you're not going to be able to balance more than maybe a half dozen. I remember the first time I tried to write a novel in high school. I had an ensemble, of course, because I wanted to be like Tolkien or, writing a Final Fantasy game. So I was like, let's have this whole huge freaking ensemble going on this journey. And let's write a POV for every single one of them. Oh, and you get a POV. You get a POV. However, I just did not balance these correctly. And I did not make the characters full enough for this to work. Now, it can be done. I've heard George R.R. Martin is great with this. But use caution. Try not to overwhelm your readers with this, because you might end up overwhelming them with one character and all the other POVs can just be thrown out, or you aren't building certain characters enough, and so instead it's just confusing them. And you've got a story to tell here. You need to do it the way that's best to suit your story, not just doing this because it's fun. Now, there's different ways to do multiple points of view. You can do multiple points of view within third person, that it's almost like you're tracking each of these different characters. Or you can do what I did with Bubblegum, where both of your POVs, it's actually first person with those characters. And if you are doing first person, make sure you change up that voice when you change POVs. In Bubblegum, Julia and Tiana have completely different syntax. Their word choice could not be more dissimilar to each other. Julia is more clinical, analytical, and empathetic, whereas Tiana just doesn't give a damn what she's thinking or what she's saying, so it's just bam, 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 bam. I make sure these things are shown through the words I use when I am in their points of view. And I remember there was actually a couple of scenes that I changed points of view, and I had to rewrite the whole thing because it wasn't just changing the nouns, it was also changing the way these things are being interpreted through their minds. Because that's what you're seeing when you're in first person. You're like in their mind. Now, if a scene is important to that character, you're going to want it to be in their perspective. If person A's best friend is getting beat up and they're freaking out, you're going to want to be in that perspective, not the perspective of person C who's like, oh, I'm sorry, dude, but I don't really care what's going on. It's unless you need to do that for some reason, but you're generally going to want the character that is being most impacted in a scene, you want it to be from that perspective. Because that's interesting to your readers. That's what they want to read. And your readers should be invested in these characters. And the more invested they are, the more they're going to want to know what they're feeling. Be careful of transitions between these POVs, especially if you're in the middle of a chapter. Generally, I want to have the POV transitions between chapters or between sections because it's a nice clean cut and it's not going to confuse your readers. It's bam, bam, bam. But obviously there may be times where you're going to want to switch in the middle of a scene. There is one point where I did that in Bubblegum, and I think I did it rather well. Let me actually pull it up so I can read it to you. No, of course, I just had to use a couple F-bombs in this scene, so I'm going to just replace them with the word F, the letter F. So in case there's any youngsters out there, you know, just putting that out there. So here's my scene transition here. This is in Tiana's perspective. They're talking outside the door, and then I hear 3 solid knocks on the wood. My veins feel like they're pumping electricity through my arms as I reach for the handle and turn it. Tiana, comes a soft whisper under a dark hood, face shrouded by a poof of curly black locks. Oh, F you. Now to Julia's perspective. It's not a F you of anger or annoyance. It's the kind of F you said to a friend when they've made you spit out your soda with a stupid joke. Tiana brings me into the room with an embrace, kicking the door closed behind us. So now this is obviously a transition between Julia is knocking on the door, Tiana's opening it, and once Julia comes in, Tiana's surprised to see her, we switch. And I kind of use, I hate that I used this part in this transition, but I used the word F you to sort of make that transition. So some sort of element in the first POV needs to be transferred to the second POV. You need that sort of handshake in the middle so that your readers know this point of view is switching to this one. It's kind of like it's a match cut is what it is. And you want to do that so that your reader's brain isn't getting confused being taken from here to there. The novel of Fire and Stars, I would really suggest if you're looking for a good example of 2 very different POVs transitioning back and forth. It's a romance, but it's 2 very different characters, so you get to see things from both of their perspectives, which is kind of interesting when you're going through the whole romantic plot. I actually have a review of it, so if you want to check that out, you can click this link. And obviously, if you want to see some good POV transitions, you can also check out Bubblegum, which will be arriving in October of this year. I am self-publishing it, so you can definitely stick with this channel for that. If you have any ideas or suggestions on the subject, it's kind of a weird subject to be talking about on writing, but if you have any suggestions or comments on POV, please leave a comment. You can like or subscribe to my channel. That really helps me out a lot. And you can check out my website, saritars.com, for anything about the Existential Crisis Corner or Bubblegum's release. And I'm also on Twitter. So yeah. So thank you for watching. This has been the Existential Crisis Corner. Stay weird.